What if I told you that a black man in Virginia Beach passed away in a jail cell, not because of his charges, but because of the way he was restrained? I'm Dr. Michael H. Ford, and this is a story you need to hear. On June 4th, 2024, Roland Hill was arrested on minor charges and brought to the Virginia Beach Correctional Center. Within 90 minutes, deputies had restrained him using a device that they were not fully trained to handle. Body camera footage later revealed deputies holding him down. One on his torso, one on his legs, and one on his neck. Roland asked for water. His breathing grew heavy, and soon it fell silent. Days later, he passed away in the hospital. His death was ruled the result of restraint and compression. 3 former deputies now face charges, but beyond the courtroom, this story forces us to ask bigger questions. Bigger questions about incarceration, bigger questions about health, and whose lives are placed at risk inside the system. Now, here's the truth. Black Americans are incarcerated at 5 times the rate of white Americans. In jails across the United States, black people make up about 26% of the jail population, even though we are only 12% of the community outside. That overrepresentation is not just about justice, it's also about health. Research shows that incarceration itself is linked to higher risk of early death. One national study found that people with a history of incarceration were 65% more likely to die prematurely, and the impact was greatest for black men. Another analysis found that in counties with higher jail incarceration rates, death rates from chronic diseases like heart disease and respiratory illness were also higher. In other words, mass incarceration doesn't just take away years through sentencing, it takes away years of life. And then there's what happens inside. Black individuals who are hospitalized while incarcerated experience higher mortality rates than their white counterparts. Part of the reason is what Roland's story shows us: bias, lack of training, and a culture that too often views black distress as resistance rather than a medical emergency. But Roland's family didn't just mourn, they organized, and on what would have been his 36th birthday, they hosted a community field day in Virginia Beach, turning grief into a space for healing, support, and mental health awareness. His story is a reminder that behind every statistic is a family, a smile, a life worth protecting. So when we talk about black health, we cannot separate it from the systems that confine us. Incarceration is not just a legal issue, it is a public health issue. Because justice is not just about accountability after someone passes away. It's about dignity while people are still alive. Healing starts with knowing. Follow for more.